What's up, guys? It's Friday, and so you know what time it is. It's time for What the Fitness. Today, we have somebody who I don't think has ever appeared on What the Fitness, although I've debated him and done a very long breakdown of his appearance on the Joe Rogan podcast, which you can view at the link in the description. Let me put it this way. It was a 3-hour podcast. It took me about 40 hours to debunk all the crap that was in it and about 100 total hours to reference everything because it was 48 pages long in a Google Doc and 283 citations, if I remember correctly. That was just to undo all the crap that was in that podcast. Anyway, it's Paul Saladino, our favorite psychiatrist turned something, as you will see by this video. His videos have been getting stranger and stranger over time. Now he doesn't wear a shirt pretty much anywhere, although he's wearing a shirt in this video, so I don't know if the store in Costa Rica where he is living makes him wear a shirt, but it's a shirt that says kale is bullshit. I hate kale, I think it tastes like crap, but I mean, I don't know if that makes it bullshit. Like, is he saying it doesn't exist? I don't know. Anyway. All right, let's talk about children's taints, shall we?
Very few things make me more sad than seeing an aisle of prepackaged baby foods, all of which intend to be healthy, many of which say they're organic, all of which are in plastic. Do you have any wonder why penises are shrinking, taints are shrinking, testosterone is declining in both male and female babies? And then if you pull up something in glass, why does all baby food have spinach in it? This is the worst thing to feed your baby, full of oxalates. Why would you do that to your baby? I pull the bison one, the best thing I can find, but it's also in plastic, and then you read the ingredients and you find there is spinach and avocado oil. Why are you feeding your child avocado oil high in linoleic acid? Why are you feeding them?
This dude be a real buzzkill to be around a party, I gotta tell you.
Do you have any wonder why penises are shrinking, taints are shrinking?
So, I have to say, I have not, in fact, wondered why children's taints are shrinking. In fact, I don't ever think I've thought about a child's taint in my entire life. In fact, I don't even know what the objective measurement of the size of a taint is. Does anybody have studies? I mean, I have to be honest, I have not looked for studies on children's taints. It would be really interesting to see if, in fact, someone has measured the size of children's taints. And if they have, why they are not in an institution somewhere, because seriously, the idea that that would actually enter your brain disturbs me. I've got to be quite honest. I've got to give full credit. I saw a gal doing a breakdown of this, and I can't remember her name, so I apologize profusely, but she was just reading the comments on this video. And it was like, the taints! Will someone think of the taints? And then somebody's like, I really want to know what a normal size taint is. I don't want to have anything else to be insecure about. So first off, this idea that penis sizes are shrinking, based on what evidence? Speak for yourself. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Am I right? Am I right? Am I right? I'm sorry. It's just so hard for me to take this video seriously when he really said, I've said some stuff on video. Not like that. Not like that. Brian, have I said anything like that? Okay, all right. Brian's shaking his head. I've said some stuff on video. I'm like, hey, let's go back and just refilm that. Paul does this video talking about baby penises and taints and decides not only that he's going to film this video, that video is going to be posted to social media for everybody to see. I don't want to make light of this, but he comes across as a raving lunatic. I've seen Paul's shtick. His shtick is the same thing. So he will find a food that he doesn't like. For example, spinach. And he'll be like, there's oxalates in spinach. And there's, like in broccoli, there's sulforaphane. And he'll pull up these studies that show, like, oh, if you have a high oxalate intake, you can get kidney stones. Or if you have high sulforaphane intake, it can be toxic. Almost always in, like, lab animals in a crazy high dose of an isolated compound. Who cares? Paul is a carnivore person. Like, literally, I could do the same thing with meat. I could be like, well, if I give a bunch of polyaromatic hydrocarbons and heterocyclic amines, these lab animals get cancer and die. But you're worried about high doses of oxalates, which are going to give you kidney stones. I mean, I don't want kidney stones, but you realize how much spinach you would have to eat to increase your risk of kidney stones. It's a lot of freaking spinach. And quite frankly, I don't think many people are going to get there. And if they do, if kidney stones is the worst of your problem throughout the course of your life and you don't get heart disease or cancer, I'll take that trade-off if I'm being honest. You can literally take any food and identify an isolated compound in said food and show a study where they give isolated compound from said food in high doses to rodents and it kills them. That means absolutely nothing. lazy frickin' science. So when we actually look at the human randomized control trials or the human outcome data, which is if what Paul's saying was correct about health and, that these vegetables are toxic, which is his big thing. His big thing is vegetables are toxic and these toxins are a defense mechanism against us eating them. Boy, they're doing a pretty crappy job, being honest, considering when you look at the people who live the longest, they tend to eat the most fruits and vegetables. How does that work? And I know, because I've been on a debate with Paul, I know what he'll say. Oh, that's just healthy user bias, so they eat a lot of vegetables and they do all these other healthy things. That could be the case if you're talking about like 1, 2, 3 studies, that sort of thing. But it is literally every single meta-analysis across thousands of studies and millions of participants shows that fiber and plants tend to increase lifespan, reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease, and cancer. So I'm sorry, Paul, it's not healthy user bias. The only bias that's present in here is your bias. You like eating only meat for God knows what reason. Hey, I love a good steak, and I would be the last person to consider myself a vegan. But this idea that just eating meat is the best thing for human health is just ridiculous. There's no evidence to support that. And when you bring it up, the carnivore people will trot out this study. They're like, look at this study. So the study they like to bring up is a self-filled questionnaire of 2,000 people that basically they're like, yeah, I did the carnivore diet and I feel better. Wow, such rigorous science. So we're going to just throw out these meta-analyses as healthy user bias. But this internet questionnaire though, also Paul likes to talk about a Twitter poll he did one time. So when it comes to evidence, these things are not equivalent. I'm not sure if people realize this. But let's get back to children's taints, shall we? Yeah, so I just don't think that, one, anybody's ever actually measured a child's taint, and if they have, I hope they're in jail. 2, it disturbs me that this thought actually enters his mind. And 3, there's no evidence that anything he's saying actually makes a difference. If you decide to feed your child baby food, I'm sure your child will be just fine. People like this really upset me, because there's so much food insecurity now and people feel so ashamed for literally everything they do. And they feel like everything is going to kill them. People like Paul just freak people out more, and I see the downstream effects of that typically in eating disorders. When you talk to people who've had severe eating disorders like anorexia and bulimia, a lot of times it's because they've created these really hard food rules because they don't eat these foods and they don't eat these foods, and what they end up with is either anorexia, they end up with severe nutrient deficiencies, or they end up with bulimia because they try to avoid said food until they have a little bit of it, and when they have a little bit of it, they just binge their face off on it, and a lot of times it also leads to purging. And I am very sensitive to this because eating disorders have the highest fatality rate of any mental illness in the world, not depression, eating disorders. And nobody talks about this stuff. And this kind of stuff is what triggers the hell out of people who are predisposed to that. So all these things you're worried about, your plastics and spinach and oxalates. And, you know what? You realize that you're probably shortening your life more by getting so bent out of shape over this stuff that doesn't really matter. If you want to live your life in fear and feel like you can't possibly eat anything that's not going to kill you, because if you follow vegan people, they'll tell you about all the stuff that's in meat that's going to kill you, and they'll make very compelling arguments for it. Stop following these people. They only spread fear because it will get a rise out of you, because you will share it, because it's really intense and scary. And research has actually shown, social media research has shown, negative fear-based content spreads exponentially faster than fact-based content. Now, why is that? Because people, and here's the thing, there's something called anchoring, which somebody says something and automatically people give it credence. Anyone can just say they're an expert. Legitimately, I came across a guy's profile and he calls himself a doctor. I went and looked up his degree. He has a degree from a degree mill. He got his degree in 8 weeks. A doctorate in 8 weeks. And this guy has millions of followers. Paul is a psychiatrist. Now, I'm not saying that psychiatry isn't a valid field of study. It absolutely is. And he probably had to work really hard to do that. But he is not a nutrition expert. He's not a metabolism expert. He's not a biochemistry expert. Stop following these people. It's like the news. When you watch the news, everyone complains about how negative the news is. Oh, they only show the bad news. And why do you think that is? If all these news stations suddenly found their ratings were tanking from their negative news, but they were really doing well on positive news, what do you think they would do? Because they don't care about their narrative as much as they care about dollars. If you stop consuming it, they will stop doing it. The same thing goes for social media. But since I'm actually spreading facts and not fear, I'm sure this video will get a modest amount of engagement and not spread like all this fear-based stuff. So to those of you who have a brain left, please stop following these people. And then I get the, well, I just follow them for entertainment. You're still helping, because every single follower they have legitimizes them more to other people that they could fool. We're either going to make a change here, or this stuff is going to get worse and worse until nobody feels like they can eat anything and probably should just hold their breath and pray for immortality. All right, guys, that's it for me this week. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and watch your taint.